We launched LC Guest House in May. We are just going into our 2.5 months running with 8 specific suites, with the goal to get 27 just in our one location in Columbus, with plans and the trajectory to grow into other markets that follow LC in both urban and suburban locations. While I've done a lot for the company, this has been one of the most exciting opportunities, because what LC does and what they stand for when it comes to our brand is to make a resident's life easier and to create belonging and relationships. And this component, as we launch LC Guest House, really adds on this additional amenity, which is a bit different from what a lot of our competitors do. And while there are a lot of short-term rentals out there in the market, we are trying to stand alone in a space that is just sort of sets the bar for residents who live here, as well as creating an amazing guest experience. Of course, we've put together business plans that are going to help us get to that point. But a big piece of that growth was always knowing that we wanted to be able to utilize technology and what we are really using to make sure that we're competitive in the market, so that as we hit that growth, that we have good operations and procedures and policies that can help us get there. So identifying softwares has been a really huge part of it. We strategically decided to start small in one location so that we had time to identify what those operation policies would be. As we've done that and we've identified what solutions we want to help us be efficient and effective in the market, it then prepares us to be able to grow a little bit quicker. Now, of course, it can be a little easier said than done, because there's a lot of different stats that are going into this to make us successful, which is filling up our rooms, making sure we're priced effectively, and of course all this software is helping us do, but every market is different. As we've been researching it, we identified Columbus being a great location to get us started, because it was close to our home base. But we always knew that there were going to be other markets that just were going to hit on more cylinders. So for instance, when we're talking about one of our next locations that we're going to in Germantown in Nashville, what a great opportunity there. But again, we knew we weren't going to be quite ready until we could figure out how to make sure we stabilized what we had currently. So we're going from 8 specific homes in Columbus to 27 through the end of the year when we're all said and done, just in the Columbus market alone. But again, the only way that we could get there was by identifying how we wanted to get there strategically and what systems in place were going to make us successful to get there. So a lot of learning along the way, but I think that as we've gotten through sort of this first set of launch, we're to the place where by no means are we perfect. We're still trying to perfect a lot of different things, but we're much better set up to go into our other markets and be successful much quicker, even quicker than what we were here in Columbus. Right now, what we have found the most useful have been, of course, with dynamic pricing. Using AirDNA has been really helpful, but also with Price Labs. So identifying in the markets where we need to be price-wise, and then using Price Labs to really help monitor the flow of the seasonality, especially because we're new to this, right? And then we are using HostAway, which is our management software, which has been great. And then of course Enzo Connect, it's really our best communication tool. And then it's identifying how all of these work together. It's a lot of learning, especially as we've had to get used to the practice of using all these different systems, but then understanding how to best utilize them. And what I mean by that, right, is we'll get in and we'll be like, gosh, this just isn't working. And it's well, this is how you work it effectively. And then once we get into the practice of doing it, it makes some of the other systems even easier without even having to ask, a HostAway rep about what's going on, because it's we just have to get in and use Enzo. And it's been really effective for us, because one of the key things that we're focused on is, again, the guest experience, and communication is key, right? We have so many different types of guests who are looking for different types of communication. And this is helping us narrow in when and how to communicate and how to best effectively communicate the message so that the system's working for us versus us having to truly be on call 24/7 to answer someone's question, where maybe this system has helped us to provide an opportunity for them to get the answer before they have to call. Yeah, something that we certainly have always wanted to improve. And while, LC Guest House is something new that we've launched, again, we're not totally new in this space, right? I mean, LC, we have residents and guests that have lived with us now for, 20 some years. And I think we're constantly trying to perfect it, and we're trying to be innovative, which is why LC Guest House was born in the first place. But we initially came to Enzo because we were looking for a hardware solution, a lock hardware solution. Born was this relationship where we started to understand what a tool it was for the communication piece, which was key. But currently in Columbus, we're not using smart locks for our residents. We want to start to change that path so that we are, because that's where we're going. That's where the times are going. So we need to get with it. As we were looking for this door solution, we found out how much more Enzo could offer us. And we loved the idea of this boarding pass and connecting it to the wallet, or the potential for someone not to even have to get a physical key or even enter a door pad if they didn't want to. So I think one of the biggest things that we loved was the connection from cell to the door, because we haven't had that in our resident experience. And so we were able to use something that we were just starting with an LC Guest House to kind of like push us forward. Again, not just LC Guest House, like push everything forward for lifestyle communities so that we could get a little bit more efficient with the time, start thinking about innovative ways to connect with our guests, and then ultimately that communication piece that we just keep talking about. Because while we've been great communicators, I think that we always have room for improvement, especially as the times change. And residents and the guest experience expect to be communicated with in a different way than we communicated with them 5 years ago. We're finding that most people want to do everything, right, through text message versus just a simple phone call, or they don't want to talk at all. They simply just one place to go to so they can simply read for themselves, find out what they need, and not even have to be bothered by someone like me. I mean, certainly I think it was the boarding pass for us that really helped us like solidify, like, this is what we want. There was no question around it, because it was all encompassing of everything. It was the communication with the guest. It was what they had at their fingertips so they could quickly get questions answered and ultimately understand the community and use this tool to help them book faster, and again, be a little bit more efficient for us on the back end too. I mean, obviously, the times have made things shift so much. And so from when I first started 15 years ago, it was like, everything was on paper. If someone were moving in, we met with them face to face. We physically handed them keys. And while we've outgrown that a lot, and we're not always handing out paper, and there's not a paper lease, we still have a lot of opportunity to make advancements when it comes to what we do from a resident experience standpoint. And so while we've made a lot of headway, I think this relationship with launching LC Guest House and using something like Enzo is helping us even more to make moves in the resident experience, which is kind of cool, because again, like the guest experience and the resident experience, I keep using these two terms, is right, like LC is a multifamily builder. So we have people that live in our spaces for a year to longer lease term, and we are dealing with a guest. And those interactions can be different, right? The way that a guest experience should be and a resident experience can be a little bit different, but they're also very similar. So I think this new endeavor with LC Guest House is helping us to kind of get out of our old mindset or our old ways and advance what we're actually doing with the residents to be maybe a little bit more similar to the guests. That we are able to touch and communicate with them in a different way that is the way that they want versus the way we think that we want it to be. I think I'm a mixture of like, I really love the personal interaction, but it's like on my terms, right? Like, I only want to interact when I really want to. Otherwise, I sort of want to be left alone. So like when I think about like if I'm checking into a hotel, I don't really want to have to go check in or wait in a line, but I want someone to be there if I need them, right? I would guess that that's how most people are, but again, we're talking about everyone is different. I think that's something that I've loved about what we're trying to incorporate into LC Guest House is this kind of best of both worlds. We're there when you need us. We're not here all the time. Who knows how our business model will continue to evolve as we get bigger and we're doing more. Enzo is allowing us to be available pretty much 24/7. Yes, while we might not message them back at 1 o'clock in the morning, hey, listen, there are times where I'm messaging them back at 1:30 in the morning. Also, too, that if they really don't want that interaction, they simply can just come right in and have nice peace. No one to have to check them in or wait in a line or wait for a key. And I think that's what we're doing right now is that we're very available, but it's that tool that's helping us be so available because right now we are a small group. LC Guest House just launching is we don't have a large team, but we're trying to compete with businesses who do have large teams. So how can we be the most effective with our time and be able to identify like what a guest needs on every single facet of what we think they may need? Well, we wouldn't be able to do that on our own because we're only here so many days during the week, during so many hours. So for me, again, to answer your question, it is a bit of both worlds. I want it when I want it. I don't when I don't. And I think that we're able to provide that right now. So, and the personalization, like we have a lot of personalization that goes into it. So even if you're not physically seeing me, maybe when you check in at 10 at night, they're walking into their home and we're doing some cool things that make it feel a little specialized, right? So like our handwritten notes or drink tokens so that they can walk over to our bar that we also have and get a couple drinks and experience what it's like to live here without physically having to be told how to experience it. Our growth is inevitable, especially because we are going into other markets. So 27 suites in Columbus is really just the start. We're talking about going into the Nashville market. And sort of our business model, right, is that Lifestyle Communities being a multifamily developer and builder is we're occupying our own spaces. With LC, we're in Nashville, Tennessee, North Carolina, South Carolina, Texas, Columbus, and there's more growth coming. Again, we don't want to just become another short-term rental. We do have purpose behind this, being that we want to expand on our brand and our offering. We ultimately want to make the resident experience even better. The guest experience is sort of just the bonus on top. But think about it this way. Think about if you were living in Columbus and you love living in a lifestyle community because we have all of these great offerings, but now also too, you have the opportunity to go travel to another LC community at maybe like a lower price and experience another city that maybe you would, you'd be staying at a higher end hotel. Well, you get all the perks of staying sort of in a home away from home at a way better price and to experience that with friends and family. Or maybe you have friends and family that are coming in and you don't want them to stay in your one-bedroom apartment, but now they can stay in the one-bedroom apartment 2 floors down. There's just so many opportunities that we're leveraging that makes LC really stand alone in the market versus us renting out to people who might turn our space into short-term rentals. We've done that and it's worked, but the missing link is what the experience ends up being, right? So Lifestyle Communities is more than just an apartment community. Well, now we are a community that has a bar and grill called The Goat. We have not just a typical fitness center or wellness center. We have what we call Code Fitness. And we have amazing gyms, like state-of-the-art gyms with Peloton bikes and classes that people can take. We have a coffee shop called Morning Ritual. And now we have LC Guest House, which is just an enhancement to all these other brand offerings that we have that make LC kind of unique. And being that LC Guest House lives within LC, we can make the experience even better because it is LC. It is what we do. And we want to make sure that you don't just come stay the night in one of our suites, but that you go to the Go and you get that experience, or that you can go play volleyball, or that you can, wake up and actually get room service from our coffee shop that will deliver right to your door. So those exist currently in our space, but we just know that we can expand that offering so much better when we have a little bit more control over it.